So let's tie up everything with this concept of between the greens on the 5-minute as an entry filter. Again, it's a standalone setup as it is, and the example that I'm going to focus in on again is today's cable. So the chart that I was scanning and looking at for a potential swing short was the 60-minute. Remember that the 60-minute chart is valid because of the bearish directional bias on the daily. Remember, when we looked at the daily, let me slide this into view here, looked at the daily, here's the daily angle. We're talking about the 4 to 6 o'clock angle. The bearish directional bias basically opens up all intraday time frames to potential shorts if I want to take them because they are trend following. Counter trend, looking for a buying opportunity, would be really only focus on 5, 15, 30. So here's a 60-minute. Now, if I can trend follow, that's my preference. Okay, so this 60-minute looked awful good to me for a number of reasons. It looked awful good to me because we were just a handful of pips away from the 5,900 major psychological level. As you can see, very nice 4 to 6 o'clock angle. Smooth 34 EMA wave lines. It's quite established in terms of how long it's been heading down at 4 to 6. Okay, the angle really, there's no question about the angle. It's not a shallow downtrend whatsoever. It's not an overly sharp downtrend either. Notice it's not comprised of just one or two big drops. It's been trickling down lower. And while we have not really seen any of the third criteria, we have smoothness, we have established, and then we have respect. We really haven't tested the 34 period EMA low in any way for resistance. That's really applicable only if we've seen a bounce, and this is going to really be the first bounce that we're seeing. So the challenge here is everything looks great, right? So what we're inputting as a different filter, again, it's the first time I've ever even discussed this because it really came about because of a very interesting little question that somebody who's been learning my stuff asked me, and someone who's been focusing on between the greens loves it and wants to see if it can help with other entries. So here's the touch on the 20 period simple. For those of you that know the swing zone, you know the 20 period SMA, simple moving average on the close, between that and the 34 EMA low here, because this is a downtrend, basically is the swing short zone where I would want to go ahead and enter short. And we can see that happened, and it was a valid entry based upon the 60. Now let's reintroduce that 5-minute chart because again, we're thinking about the 5-minute as a filter. The 5-minute here, and let's go back to when we were actually nailing that 58.73. Now this has already happened, by the way, gang, obviously, since I'm going back in time here. So let me show you where this occurred. So here's the way the 5-minute chart looked. Now my 5-minute look back should be about a day, day and a half, as we can see here. Okay, so even if you had it on a shallower look back, what's the dominant grab candle? It's green. What's the angle of the wave? It's not pretty, but it's up, right? Now, if I want this entry, this short swing on the 60-minute to follow through, what do I need? I need sentiment to exhaust, right? I need sentiment to start to show me that there is weakness coming into the market. Now, the only way weakness is going to come in is if those short-term time frames start to turn downward or at least sideways and then begin to move lower or just move lower right off the bat. And what am I seeing here instead? I'm seeing 5-minute strength, right? I'm continuing to see 5-minute strength. At the same time, take a look at the between the greens entries. About the same time that I'm looking at that short on the 60-minute, what's happening? The 5-minute is showing me a fairly fresh, but definitely more bullish sentiment and momentum. And then I'm getting a number of between the green entries over and over again. Now, if my 5-minute is not showing any kind of sideways movement, and if anything is continuing to move higher, as we can see on the chart with the wave on it, what are the chances that I'm going to actually exhaust and get my 60-minute downside follow through? Next to none. So this is how you can use the 5-minute. Number one, the 5-minute itself actually triggered an entry between the green entry back in the mid-60s, about 58.60. Okay? And this is why the 60 minutes simply did not follow through. There's your filter.